The original web, as it was envisioned, was, supposed to be very democratic, very decentralized, and at some point, convenience won.
We need to keep in mind that the internet itself is just a tool.
But if we don't know what AI is, if we don't know what blockchain is, how do we want to navigate the world going forward? How do we want to reimagine the internet if we don't know it?
Throughout this journey, I've learned that we don't want an unrestricted internet, but an open one that allows for diverse expression, fair access, and creativity. Though our vision on how exactly this comes together might differ, we can all agree that trust is key. The internet's exponential growth has had unintended consequences for openness and transparency online. Web3 looks to revive trust online with new systems. But as new as Web3 is, we already have Web5.
One of the common questions I get is, why Web5? People have heard of Web3, what happened to Web4? The way that we came up with Web5 is not a Web2 versus Web3, but what about if we combine the principles of both, right? The original web, as it was envisioned, was, supposed to be very democratic, very decentralized, and at some point, convenience won. Now, we don't want to get rid of convenience for the sake of decentralization, so how do we put both of these together is what we're after with Web5. So the convenience of the account model that we know in Web2, but given control back to the users and ethos of Web3. And the harmony of these is how we get to Web5.
The Web5 uses the blockchain, and the blockchain for identity purposes has a significant problem. Essentially, the blockchain is a storage medium, so you can append information and it gets longer and longer, and you cannot manipulate the history, which is a very good feature for bookkeeping purposes, for example. Everybody who uses it needs a full copy of the thing, which is on the terabyte scale. And there's huge hardware requirements on that. You have to keep it in sync with everybody else's copy. You need very fast internet access for that. You certainly can't do it on your phone. But even if you had solved that issue, even if everybody had a copy of the blockchain, and even if it was simple to synchronize it, then how would you decide whose copy is valid?
Essentially, whether it's Web3, Web5, or any evolutionary stage in between, the core foundation for a lot of the internet's new concepts is built on blockchain. What if we replace the DNS system with Web3?
There are new systems that are using cryptographic algorithms to authenticate them, right? Blockchain. Does that scale? Can that do billions of resolutions a day? I do not know the answer to that. But those are the kind of questions that any emerging technology needs to answer. Now, we are not opposed to change. In fact, as an engineer, I'm quite avid that I love the evolution of the system because it gives new opportunities and new abilities to the users. But I don't want the system to break.
So how do we move forward? If we know we need to improve the system that we have and reestablish trust. The path forward is cloudy, but the mission is clear. We need to reclaim the internet to make sure it's open and free. But how?
We don't want our internet to get fragmented into different technologies, different things that only work in silos. The idea of having a single internet, the single routing system, single DNS is very, very important. We need to change how we may be doing social media. We need to do how we are hosting server, or are we relying too much on only a very small number of CDN providers or cloud company? Those are business matters. That shouldn't change how the fundamental of internet architecture or how internet works. We need to keep it exactly the same as we move towards future.
There's a delay in terms of getting the right infrastructure in place or the technology to be readily available ubiquitously wherever we are. That will be figured out. I always believe in technology figuring out the hardware and the software pieces, but the human element of this, that to me is really a big challenge that I'm not convinced we're figuring out right now. But if we don't know what AI is, if we don't know what blockchain is, how do we want to navigate the world going forward? How do we want to reimagine the internet if we don't know it? What I wish we would do as societies is that we help people understand what these technologies actually can do for them. It's almost like as important as knowing how to read and write.
And today we are not in the authorship of the value of internet. When we, for example, think we participate by posting media and being the content providers, we actually speculate on our self-image. I might look good according to the rules that someone else set up is looking good on, for example, Instagram. So I don't participate, I speculate on my own value according to someone else's rules. Participation would be, can I post this content that is maybe divergent from the mainstream and still feel that there is a value in it?
Figuring out how to use the internet in a much more meaningful way, that the internet does things for you, that it educates you, that it inspires you, that it guides you, mentors you. Those are the things I'm looking for that the internet should be doing for us going forward, because otherwise we missed a huge opportunity.
Social media platforms often force users into predefined modes of participation and value. This can stifle genuine self-expression and innovation online. This issue of alienation and lack of control that users face connects to a larger criticism of modern digital economies.
In some cases, I would even argue we use it as graffiti, as digital graffiti. We just spew out a message and that's it. And if that's good for society, I don't know.
And I usually play with just capital letters me in the straightest font you can do. Flip it upside down like in a mirror, it becomes a we. And for me, it's a just simple but beautiful sign of we doesn't exist unless there are many me's to observe ourselves, to appreciate ourselves. But if I can't see you for who you are, we're building a society that is what we think you are. And advertising-driven social media just gives us what people should think that we are. So we never represent ourselves. We never reflect the me. So we are then conformed.
The thing that civil society can do is to bring democratic representation, a more diverse set of perspectives, a focus on marginalized and at-risk groups to bear in corporate governance decision-making.
Increasing your digital literacy is actually an accountability on each one of us, although it's not accessible to billions of people. Most of us on this planet can only access a digital expression, literacy, or language that is given to us. And the tools we're getting today might give us that possibility because they are now more accessible in price. And they are more accessible through infrastructure.
I think SEOs, have a bit of a moral and ethical obligation to, because at the end of the day, we're kind of the ones that are affecting what gets to appear on Google. Of course, there's a lot of SEOs who only care about making money and they don't really care about the ethics of what they're doing. That's definitely a big part of our industry, for sure. But there's a lot of us who believe it is important to surface good quality information. I have hope for the future of the internet because people love to be able to explore. People love to be able to find answers to their questions and different perspectives and different experiences.
Our Our journey has revealed a profound truth. The power to drive change lies within each of us. We must change our relationship to the internet and become active citizens, because the internet really reflects our values, biases, hopes, and fears. To see our best selves mirrored, we must embody empathy, critical thinking, and have diverse voices. Progress requires participation. Digital literacy and self-education can guide us towards an open, free, and trustworthy internet, which is, of course, the cornerstone of our careers and lives. Together, we can ensure the internet remains a force for good, empowering us all. It has immense potential, but we just need to remain mindful and vigilant of its unintended consequences.